I found out he was gambling with our money on a Wednesday night, the kind of Wednesday that's supposed to be boring, dinner plates stacked in the sink, the dishwasher blinking like it wanted attention, our son, Caleb, asleep with his sneakers still on because he'd fought bedtime like it was a war, our daughter, Nora, curled under a blanket on the couch, half watching a cartoon, half drifting off, and my husband, Ava Pierce, sitting across the room with his phone angled just slightly away from me. Not fully hidden, just tilted, like he wasn't doing anything wrong. But he didn't want me to see exactly what he was doing anyway. I didn't suspect gambling. Not at first. I suspected stress. I suspected work. I suspected the normal things wives are trained to suspect. So the bigger things can keep happening unnoticed. Then my phone buzzed. It wasn't a text. It wasn't a school alert. It was a bank notification. Low balance warning. I frowned. We weren't low. Evan had told me we were finally caught up after Christmas. I clicked, expecting to see a glitch, a delayed paycheck, maybe a bill I forgot. Instead, the app loaded and my stomach dropped straight through my body. Available balance, $412.18. Yesterday, it was over $9,000. I stared at the number like I could intimidate it into changing. Then I scrolled down and I saw the withdrawals. Not one, not a couple, a chain, like someone had taken our account and shaken it until money fell out. $500, $500, $500, over and over. The merchant names were short, unfamiliar, and the amounts were too clean. BrightBet.io, Riverspin, WagerHub, Cash App, followed by a handle I didn't recognize. My mouth went dry, because I knew what those names were. Not exactly, but enough. Sportsbook, online casino, payment rails people use when they don't want their spouse to read the words gambling site in plain English. That was the legal and financial anchor, and it hit inside the first minute of me opening that banking screen. Our joint account had been drained in a single day by gambling transactions, and those transactions were tied to the account that paid our mortgage, our daycare, our groceries, our life. I didn't breathe for a second. Then my body snapped back into motion like a survival instinct. I clicked pending transactions. There were more, still pending, still reaching. An ACH scheduled for tomorrow, $2,000, to something labeled Riverspin Payments. Tomorrow, as if today wasn't enough. I looked up from my phone and saw Evan still on the couch, thumb moving, eyes locked on his screen. I watched him like I'd never seen him before, his jaw tight, his breathing shallow, his attention hungry, not relaxed, not scrolling, chasing. I stood up slowly. My voice came out quiet, because shock doesn't always scream. Sometimes it whispers. Evan, I said. He didn't look up right away. Evan, I repeated. He finally lifted his eyes, annoyed, like I'd interrupted something important. What? He asked. I held up my phone. What is BrightBet? I asked. Evan blinked once, just once. And in that single blink, I saw it, recognition. Then he forced a shrug. Nothing, he said. Some subscription. It's probably fraud. Fraud. The word landed like a joke, because this wasn't one charge. This was a pattern, a spree. And the timing, the precision, the repetition, screamed intent. I kept my voice steady. Our account was over $9,000 yesterday, I said. Now it's $400. There are dozens of charges to betting sites. Explain. Evan exhaled, that controlled exhale he used when he wanted me to feel like I was being dramatic, just for noticing. "You're overreacting," he said. My hands started shaking, but I didn't let my voice rise. "Overreacting is crying," I said. "I'm reading transactions." He leaned back, eyes narrowing. "Okay," he said, too calm. "Okay. Let me talk." I didn't answer. He took a breath like he was choosing the version of truth he thought I could swallow. "It's not what you think," he said. "It's exactly what I think," I replied. "It's gambling." Evan's face tightened and the softness vanished. "It's not gambling," he snapped. "It's sports. It's strategy." Strategy. That word. Men like Evan love words that make bad choices sound intelligent. "Strategy doesn't drain our mortgage account," I said. Evan's jaw clenched. "I was going to put it back," he said. "Put it back. Like money is a borrowed sweater." "How?" I asked. "With what?" He looked away, just for a second. Then he said, "I have a system." My stomach turned. A system. Not an accident, not a slip. A system means repetition. A system means lies built into the routine. I took a step closer. "How long?" I asked quietly. Evan laughed once, sharp. "Don't do this," he warned. "How long?" I repeated. He stared at me, and for a moment I thought he might confess. Instead, he did what he always did when cornered. He tried to flip the problem onto me. "You don't understand pressure," he said. "You don't understand what it's like to carry a family on your back." My throat tightened. "I teach full time," I said. "I carry 2 kids in a household, and your moods? Don't tell me I don't understand pressure." Evan's eyes flashed. "Then you should understand why I needed an outlet," he snapped. Outlet. That word made my skin crawl. Because our money wasn't his outlet. It was our stability. It was my children's food. It was my rent if the mortgage didn't go through. I looked down at my phone again and saw the pending ACH for tomorrow. "Cancel this," I said, showing him. Evan's face hardened. "No," he said. "No?" I repeated. He leaned forward, voice low. "If I cancel it," he said, "I lose my bonus." "Bonus." My stomach dropped. "What bonus?" I asked. Evan's eyes flickered. Then he said it. Too fast. Like it slipped out before he could stop it. "My match. Match. Deposit match. The perk sports books used to hook people deeper." I stared at him, feeling the room tilt. "You're chasing a promo," I whispered, "with our mortgage money." Evan's nostrils flared. "Don't talk to me like I'm an idiot," he hissed. I met his eyes. "Then stop acting like one," I said quietly. His face went cold. "You're not going to ruin this," he said. Ruin. That word told me everything. Because he didn't say, "I'm sorry." He didn't say, "I messed up." He said, "You're not going to ruin this." Meaning, he believed this was something worth protecting. More than us. More than the kids. More than my peace. I didn't argue. I didn't beg. I walked into the kitchen, opened my laptop, and logged into the bank from there, because I needed control in my hands, not on his phone. Evan followed me, eyes narrowing. "What are you doing?" he demanded. "Stopping the bleeding," I said. I changed the password. I enabled 2-factor authentication to my phone. I removed any saved devices I didn't recognize. And there were 3. 3 devices, not just his phone, a tablet, and a browser session labeled Windows Unknown. My heart hammered. He'd been logging in from other places, other screens. He'd been building a private world with our shared money. Evan lunged closer. "Ava, stop," he snapped. I held up my hand. "Don't," I said, voice low. He froze, not because he respected me, but because the kids were upstairs and he understood optics. I clicked Stop Payments on the pending ACH. I clicked Freeze Card. Then I called the bank's fraud line. Evan's face twisted. "You're going to tell them it's fraud?" he hissed. "It is," I said. His eyes flashed. "It's my account, too," he snapped. "And I'm freezing it, too," I said calmly. The representative answered, and I forced my voice steady. "I need to block future ACH payments to these merchants," I said, "and I need to dispute any unauthorized gambling transactions." Evan leaned in, voice low. "Hang up," he whispered. I didn't. I gave the merchant names. I gave the amounts. I asked about reversing. The rep said, "If the account holder authorized these transactions, disputes may be denied." I swallowed, because yes, Evan was an account holder, which meant the bank might shrug and say, "Marital issue, not fraud, not their problem." That's the thing about shared finances. They're intimate until something breaks. Then the world treats it like a contract. The bank placed a stop payment on future ACHs, but told me I needed to come into a branch to change account authorization if I wanted to remove Evan's access. Remove his access. That phrase, in a marriage, sounded like violence, but it was already violent, just quieter. Evan stalked out of the kitchen and slammed the bedroom door hard enough to rattle the hallway picture. I stood there, hands shaking, and I realized this wasn't the first time. It couldn't be. You don't drain $9,000 in one day if you've never touched the flame before. You do that when you're already burned and still chasing heat. So I did the second thing Evan never expected. I looked back. I pulled bank statements for the past 12 months. I filtered for Cash App, Venmo, Zelle, SCH, and any names that felt like code, and the pattern unfolded like a cruel flipbook. Small charges months ago, $50, $75, $100, then bigger, $250, $500. Then a month where our savings dipped and Evan said, "Car repairs." Then another month where the credit card balance spiked and he said, "Unexpected expenses." It wasn't unexpected. It was the hidden. I found one line that made my throat close. Payment, home equity line. A HELOC payment. We didn't have a HELOC. At least, I didn't know we did. I stared at it until my eyes burned. Then I opened county records on my laptop, searching our address. And there it was. A lien, recorded 6 months ago. Home equity line of credit, limit $60,000. Borrowers, Ava Pierce and Ava Pierce. My name, my address, my house, used as collateral. Without my consent, my body went cold. Because this wasn't just gambling money. This was house money. This was foreclosure territory. And Evan didn't just gamble with extra. He gambled with the foundation. I didn't sleep that night. Evan stayed in the bedroom with the door closed, like silence could erase what he'd done. I sat in the living room with a folder open on my laptop, labeled evidence, and I started saving everything. Screenshots of transactions, screenshots of the HELOC record, PDFs of statements, dates, times. My hands shook, but my mind was strangely calm. Because once you stop hoping the truth is small, you start preparing for it to be big. The next morning, I took the kids to school like nothing was happening. I smiled at the teacher. I waved at other parents. I performed normal while my stomach was a knot. Then I drove straight to a family law attorney. Her name was Camille Hart. She had the kind of voice that made you feel like your panic had a place to land. She listened to my story without flinching. When I finished, she said, "This is financial abuse," she said. "And if he opened a HELOC in your name without consent, it may be fraud. Either way, We need to protect you and the kids immediately. Camille's steps were clear. Open a new bank account in your name only and reroute your paycheck. Freeze your credit. File a police report about the HELOC if you didn't authorize it. File in family court for temporary orders. Exclusive use of the marital home, temporary custody schedule, and a financial restraining order preventing him from borrowing, gambling, or encumbering property. Request full financial disclosure and a forensic accountant. Because with gambling, the money trail matters. I did it all. That afternoon, I opened a new account. I rerouted my paycheck. I moved what little savings we had left, quietly, legally, because the account was still jointly mine. Then I froze my credit. And yes, I filed a police report. Sitting in that station, I felt like my marriage was being translated into a case number. The officer asked, "Do you know who might have opened this loan?" I stared at the desk and said, "My husband," quietly. He asked, "Did you sign?" "No," I said. "I didn't know it existed." He asked, "Do you have proof?" I slid over a printed copy of the county record and the bank statement showing payments. The officer nodded slowly. "You're doing the right thing," he said. Right didn't feel comforting. Right felt like a cliff, because I knew what came next. Evan would either confess or escalate. When Evan came home that night, he walked in with a calm face, like he'd already decided how the story would be told. He kissed the kids. He asked about homework. He poured himself a drink. Then he looked at me and said, "We need to talk." I didn't answer. I handed him a piece of paper, the HELOC record printout. Evan glanced at it, and the calm cracked. For a split second, his eyes went wide. Then anger rushed in. "Where did you get this?" he snapped. "Public records," I said. His jaw clenched. "You went digging?" "Yes," I replied. "Because you were burying?" Evan's voice lowered. "It's not what you think," he said. "It's exactly what I think," I said. "You borrowed against our house, in my name, and you used the money to gamble." He slammed his glass down on the counter hard enough to splash. "Don't say that," he hissed. "Say what?" I asked quietly. "The truth?" He leaned in, eyes sharp. "You want to ruin me?" he asked. I stared at him. "You already did," I said. "You just didn't expect me to notice before the bank did." Evan's breathing turned heavy. Then he did something that made my skin crawl. He smiled, not warm, not kind, a smile that said he believed he still had power. "You know what happens if you go legal?" he murmured. "They'll freeze everything. They'll take the house. They'll tear the kids apart. Is that what you want?" There it was, the fear pitch, the threat dressed up as concern. I kept my voice calm. "I already went legal," I said. Evan blinked. "What?" "I filed," I replied. "Temporary orders, and I filed a police report about the HELOC." His face drained of color, then filled with fury. "You did that behind my back," he hissed. I laughed once, sharp. "Behind your back?" I repeated. "Like the gambling? Like the loan?" Evan's jaw clenched so tight I could see it. Then he grabbed his keys. "I'm leaving," he snapped. "I can't deal with your hysteria." Hysteria. He used that word because he wanted me to doubt my sanity. But my sanity was printed in statements now. "Go," I said. He slammed the door. The escalation didn't wait. The next day, I got a call from the HELOC lender. A representative asked for Evan. I said, "This is Ava Pierce. I need information about the account." There was a pause. "I can only discuss it with both borrowers," she said. "I am a borrower," I replied. I did not authorize this loan. Her voice tightened. Ma'am, the file includes your electronic signature. My stomach dropped. Send me the application packet, I said, and the ID verification steps, and the IP logs if you have them. She hesitated, then said, You'll need to submit a written request. I will, I said, and I'm also filing a fraud claim. The woman's tone changed slightly, like she recognized the word fraud had weight. That afternoon, the lender emailed the packet. I opened it, and my blood ran cold. The signature looked like mine, but the email used wasn't my email. It was a new address, created in my name, with my birth year, like someone built a fake version of me. The phone number on file wasn't mine either. It was a prepaid number, the kind you can buy at a gas station. Evan had created a shadow identity, a version of me that existed only to sign loans. Camille filed emergency motions faster than I thought possible. We went to court for temporary orders. Evan showed up in a suit, calm face, gentle voice, like he was the reasonable one. He told the judge he was stressed, that I was overreacting, that the HELOC was for home improvements. Home improvements. We hadn't improved anything. Our living room still had the same scuffed baseboards from when we moved in. Camille didn't argue emotion. She argued paper. She showed the bank transactions to gambling sites. She showed the drained account. She showed the recorded HELOC lien and the suspicious contact info. She showed my police report number. The judge asked Evan, Did you open a line of credit using your wife's identity without her informed consent? Evan smiled politely. Your Honor, we're married, he said. We share finances. The judge's expression didn't soften. That's not an answer, she said. Evan's attorney tried to speak. The judge held up her hand. I asked him, she said. Evan swallowed. She knew about the loan, he said. She's upset now. Camille's voice was quiet but sharp. Your Honor, she said. If she knew, why were the loan communications routed to a new email address not used by Ms. Pierce? Why was a prepaid phone number listed? Why were payments made from a joint account while statements were diverted? And why do we have clear evidence of gambling transactions immediately following disbursements? The room went still. The judge granted temporary orders. Evan was barred from incurring additional debt. He was barred from accessing my personal information. He was ordered to disclose all accounts, and I was granted temporary exclusive use of the home, with a temporary custody schedule. Evan's calm face cracked as we left the courtroom. He leaned toward me and whispered, You think this stops me? I didn't answer, because by then, I had stopped believing his voice mattered more than documents. The next escalation came from the mail, a past due notice, not for the HELOC, for a personal loan, in my name. $18,000, opened 10 months ago. I stared at it until my vision blurred. Then I realized something that made my stomach drop. The HELOC wasn't the first loan. It was the biggest, meaning there were others. Camille requested a forensic accountant. Her name was Elena Cortez. Elena had eyes like she could see through excuses. She pulled my credit reports, Evan's reports, and everything the court forced him to disclose. And she found what Evan had tried to keep invisible. Credit cards opened under my name as authorized user, then turned into joint liability. A personal loan routed through a fintech lender, disbursed to an account Evan controlled, Cash App transfers to handles that matched online sportsbooks, a TM, withdrawals at odd hours near casinos across state lines. And then the pattern that made the hair on my arms rise. Evan wasn't just gambling randomly, he was laundering the money trail, using payment apps, rotating merchants, splitting deposits, so the bank statements look like miscellaneous spending instead of a feeding frenzy. Elena said, "He's hiding volume," she said, "but the totals don't hide." She calculated the last 18 months. Total gambling-related outflows, direct and indirect, were just over $143,000. My throat tightened, because that wasn't a mistake. That wasn't a bad month. That was a second life. The twist. The moment the story became something even darker than I'd imagined, arrived when Elena traced one specific deposit, a large one, $62,000. It hit our joint account 6 months ago, and then disappeared over the next week into gambling-related transfers. I remembered that deposit. Evan had told me it was a work bonus. We'd celebrated with takeout and a cheap bottle of champagne. He said, "See? I told you everything would be okay." Elena looked at the deposit source and frowned. "That isn't a bonus," she said. "What is it?" I whispered. Elena's voice was careful. "It's an insurance settlement," she said. "A third-party settlement. It looks like it was meant for your son's accident." My body went cold. Caleb had broken his arm at a trampoline park last year. We'd filed a claim. Evan had handled it. He told me the park's insurer was being difficult. He told me it would take time. Then he told me it was resolved. I had assumed it meant medical bills were paid. I had never seen the settlement letter. Elena pulled the check image from bank records. Payee, Ava Pierce and Evan Pierce, with endorsements. Endorsements. I stared at it. My name was there, signed. But it wasn't my signature. It was a shaky imitation, like someone copying my name from a form. Evan had forged my endorsement, deposited our son's injury settlement, and gambled it away. That was the 70% twist. The moment my stomach didn't just hurt, it went numb. Because this wasn't just money from our life. This was money meant for our child, stolen and fed into a system designed to keep people chasing losses. Camille's voice turned very quiet when she saw it. "This is criminal," she said. "Not just fraud, not just marital misconduct. This is theft, and potentially forgery." I sat in Camille's office and stared at the check image until my eyes burned. I heard my son's laugh in my head, the way he'd tried to act brave when his arm was in a cast, the way he'd asked me if he'd still be able to play baseball, and I realized Evan didn't just gamble money. He gambled trust. He gambled childhood. He gambled safety. Camille moved fast. She amended the police report with the settlement check evidence. She filed an emergency motion to restrict Evan's access to the children pending investigation. Because if he could steal from his own child, the court needed to see him clearly. She also contacted the insurer for records and requested the settlement release documents. Because if Evan forged my endorsement, he likely forged my release too. Evan's response was immediate. He started texting, rapidly, like a man trying to flood the air before the truth could breathe. "You're lying. Elena is manipulating you. That wasn't a settlement. You're destroying our family. Think about the kids. Think about the kids." The line he used while draining the account that fed them. Camille told me, "Don't respond," she said. "Save everything." So I saved it. Every text, every voicemail. And one voicemail, left at 2:13 a.m., made my skin crawl. Evan's voice, low and angry. "If you keep pushing, you're going to lose the house anyway. Those lenders will take it. You'll make the kids suffer. This is on you." On you, the classic move. Make the victim responsible for the consequences of the crime. I didn't believe him anymore, because Elena's work had revealed something Evan hadn't planned for. Gambling leaves records, not always obvious, but persistent. Online platforms track deposits and withdrawals. They have account histories. They have identity verification. They have logs. Elena subpoenaed the betting platforms through civil discovery. At first, they resisted. Then the court compelled. And the responses came back. Thick, detailed, undeniable. Evan's accounts were verified using his driver's license, and the funding sources were listed. Our joint account, the HELOC disbursement, the personal loan funds, and yes, the settlement deposit. Even worse, there were withdrawals. Not many, but there were some. Withdrawals to a bank account I didn't recognize. An account Evan had never disclosed. An account in the name of a woman, Maya Lennox. I stared at the name. "Who is that?" I whispered. Elena didn't look surprised. "Probably the person he was trying to keep safe," she said. "Or the person he was paying." Camille pulled the account information from disclosure. Maya Lennox was not a random name. She was listed as an authorized user on one of Evan's credit cards. She also had a lease in a building downtown, the same building that showed up on our statements as Sable House before Evan tried to change merchant codes. This wasn't just gambling. This was gambling, plus a second life. A second life funded by my credit, my home, my son's injury settlement, and now the power reversal had a shape. It wasn't just about stopping him. It was about recovering what could be recovered and making sure the record showed in black and white that I did not consent. Because consent is what debt collectors and courts care about. Camille filed for divorce with fault allegations where applicable, and for dissipation of marital assets. She requested that Evan be assigned the gambling debts. She requested reimbursement for the stolen settlement funds. She requested exclusive custody. She requested a protective financial order. And she requested attorney's fees. We went back to court for the emergency custody motion. Evan arrived looking different. Not calm, tired. His suit still fit, but his eyes had the frantic shine of someone who hadn't slept, because sleep doesn't come when your lies are being subpoenaed. His attorney tried to frame the settlement issue as miscommunication. Camille didn't let the room float in vagueness. She presented the check image with forged endorsement. She presented platform records showing the settlement deposit followed by heavy wagering. She presented the loan documents with suspicious contact info. She presented the bank statements showing the drained joint account. The judge's face tightened. "Mr. Pierce," she said, "did you endorse this settlement check on behalf of your wife without her consent?" Evan swallowed. "I handled finances," he said. "That is not an answer," the judge replied. Evan's attorney objected, overruled. Evan's voice came out smaller. "I don't remember," he said. Camille's voice was soft but lethal. "Your Honor," she said, "we have the platform deposit record time-stamped the same day the check cleared. We have the account verification showing Mr. Pierce as the user. We have a pattern of unauthorized financial activity. This isn't forgetfulness. It's a system." The judge granted temporary sole legal custody to me pending further evaluation. Evan's visitation was supervised, and a temporary protective order barred him from accessing any accounts or using my personal information. When I walked out of that courtroom, my legs felt weak, but my lungs felt clearer, because for the first time, The system was seeing what I had been living. Evan called me from a blocked number that night. His voice sounded raw. "Ava?" he whispered. "Please." I closed my eyes. He said, "You're making me look like a monster." I opened my eyes and stared at the wall. "You made you look like a monster," I said quietly. "I just stopped covering for you." His voice cracked. "I can fix it," he said. "I can stop. I swear. Stop." The word gamblers say when consequences arrive. I didn't respond to the promise. I responded to the reality. "Where is the money?" I asked. Silence. Then, a small truth slipped out, bitter and tired. "It's gone," he whispered. "Gone. Not invested, not borrowed, not temporarily leveraged. Gone." I felt my throat tighten, but I kept my voice steady. "Then the court will decide what you owe," I said. He inhaled sharply. "You want me in jail?" he snapped. "I want my kids safe," I replied. He hung up. The final phase wasn't dramatic. It was paperwork, deadlines, and the slow, steady work of undoing damage. Elena negotiated with lenders, armed with the police report and court orders. We froze accounts. We disputed unauthorized debt where possible. We worked to reclassify certain obligations as fraud. Some lenders cooperated, some didn't. But the court record helped, because once a judge orders disclosure and recognizes unauthorized activity, institutions take you more seriously. The HELOC lender, facing the risk of liability for lax verification, agreed to pause enforcement and investigate. The personal loan lender produced an IP log tied to Evan's workplace. One betting platform provided self-exclusion requests Evan had attempted and then reversed. Proof he knew he had a problem. The insurer confirmed the settlement release documents were executed with an electronic signature that didn't match my verified signature history. Fraud. Again. Evan's criminal exposure grew. But what mattered most to me wasn't punishment. It was protection and restitution in the house. Because the house was where my kids slept. And Evan had already tried to turn it into collateral for his addiction. In the divorce trial, Evan tried one last tactic. He attempted to paint me as controlling. He said I never trusted him. He said he gambled because he needed an escape. He said the settlement money was used for family expenses. Camille didn't raise her voice. She simply showed the timeline. Settlement deposit. Then betting platform deposits within hours. Then wagers. Then losses. Then no corresponding family expenses except the bills that remained unpaid. She showed the transfers to Maya Lennox. She showed the lease. She showed the hidden account. And then she played Evan's own words from a recorded voicemail where he said, "If you keep pushing, you're going to lose the house anyway." The judge listened, expression flat. And when Evan's attorney objected, the judge said, "It goes to motive and pattern." Pattern, that word again. Evan's mask kept slipping. When Camille asked him, under oath, "How much did you lose total?" Evan said, "I don't know." Elena handed Camille the compiled summary. $143,000 in outflows. Evan stared at it like he wanted it to be fiction. Then Camille asked, "Who is Maya Lennox?" Evan's jaw clenched. "I don't know," he said. Camille slid the platform withdrawal records with Maya's account numbers. Then the lease listing Evan as authorized occupant. Evan's face tightened. The judge's eyes narrowed. And in that moment, the power reversal became visible. Because Evan wasn't the calm man in control anymore. He was a man cornered by his own records. The judge awarded me the house, not because she felt sorry, because she found Evan's financial conduct reckless and fraudulent. because she believed the children's stability required it. The judge assigned Evan the gambling-related debts. The judge ordered restitution for the stolen settlement funds. The judge ordered attorney's fees, and the judge issued a permanent order restricting Evan from using my identity or opening any credit connected to me. When the final order was signed, it felt like a lock clicking into place. Evan tried to speak to me afterward, in the hallway. His eyes were tired. His voice was soft. "Ava," he said, I didn't let him finish. Not because I wanted to punish him with silence, because I didn't need closure from a man who bet our family like a parlay. I said quietly, "You didn't lose control," I said. "You chose control, over and over, every time you clicked deposit." His face flinched like the truth hurt physically. Then he looked away. Months later, the last lien release related to the HELOC investigation was recorded after the lender agreed to unwind the account and remove the encumbrance, because the fraud findings and court orders made the risk too high for them to fight. My credit score recovered slowly, like a bruise fading. Our bank account stabilized. My kids began sleeping through the night again. And one evening, Nora asked me, "Mom, do we have enough money now?" I pulled her into my lap and kissed her hair. "We have enough safety," I said gently, "and we're building the rest. Because money is numbers, but safety is what money is supposed to protect." Evan thought gambling was just an escape. He treated it like entertainment, like a secret hobby. But gambling wasn't the real problem. The real problem was that he believed he could take without being seen, and that he could use my identity as a bankroll, and that if I found out, I would panic and cover it to keep the family image intact. He counted on my fear. He counted on my silence. He counted on me doing what wives do when they don't want to blow up a life. But fear isn't a life plan. Truth is. Evidence is. Paperwork is. And the day I opened that banking app and saw our balance drop into the hundreds, the day I saw BrightBet and Riverspin and realized my husband wasn't just spending, he was chasing, that was the day I stopped being the person who asked, "Why would you do this?" and became the person who said, "Prove you didn't." Because once the record exists, once it's filed, once the pattern is documented, you don't have to scream to be believed. You just have to keep turning the page until the lie runs out of places to hide.